Hi everybody, this is Dino Chris from Prehistoric Facts. This is a special episode this weekend. Today's animal we're actually going to be talking about is Torosaurus. And so we'll actually get started based on the size. Torosaurus is actually 25 feet long and probably weighed around 4 tons. And probably the height of Torosaurus would actually be probably between 7 to 10 feet high. So it would actually be either smaller or the same size as Triceratops. Now, Torosaurus and Triceratops are very different. Torosaurus actually has a longer frill, but also it has holes in the frill. Which Triceratops is a very solid type of frill. And considering that Torosaurus did actually live at the same time as Triceratops, and so we would actually probably be seeing Torosaurus not coexisting with Triceratops very much, because considering that Torosaurus probably did live in herds, and probably it actually lived in larger groups to actually sustain the species and actually make sure that they are protected from predators. Now, the horns of Torosaurus, they tend to be very straight on the brow, and they do have a nose horn, but it's not as large as Triceratops' nose horn, or otherwise like Styracosaurus's nose horn, which tends to stick up really high off the nose, and also like Centrosaurus, which actually does have a horn that probably kind of goes like this kind of shape, and so pretty much, Torosaurus did live alongside Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus rex, Edmontosaurus, Titan, and also Dromaeosaurus, and also Ornithomimus and Pachycephalosaurus, those kinds of dinosaurs. And in pretty much the time that Torosaurus did live in is the late Cretaceous, around 67 to 66 million years ago. And considering that Torosaurus probably was hunted by Tyrannosaurus rex, it would probably had to live in herds, of course, but also like other ceratopsians, it probably did actually have mating rituals like rhinos do, and like elk and deer do, is have rutting season, which they actually, because pretty much first they actually have to display their frills first, because that's pretty much what the frills are used for. Their number one use is for display. And for Torosaurus's large frill, it would actually have to probably pump up blood in the frill to actually create all sorts of different colors to actually display, because basically rival males would actually be showing off like how healthy that. Who's the healthier one? Who actually is the aggressor, and also could actually be the top dog. But if that doesn't work, then they would actually have to lock horns and then just kind of head wrestle each other. And so that's pretty much, I think, what they're actually going to be doing most of the time. They didn't actually totally bash heads against each other, because otherwise that's going to cause serious injury. And even though there are certain injuries that we do find on ceratopsian skulls, based on that they did actually probably bash heads at once in a while to actually show off who's the aggressor. But it's mainly males that are actually going to be the aggressors out of the genders, because considering that the males would actually have high testosterone levels, and they would actually be really in high mode because they're ready to mate. And so the females would actually probably might have smaller frills, but I think males and females would actually both have frills. But I would say that the females' frills probably didn't actually show off that much color, so they would probably have duller colors, just like birds. Males have brighter colors, whereas the females actually have duller colors, so that the males can actually do a little bit more of the work, which is basically advertised to the female. And so when the defeated male is actually worn out of the herd, then it would actually pretty much just walk away, and then pretty much the victor would actually display to the females first, and then pretty much start mating. But considering, and even though there is this huge debate whether or not Torosaurus is actually a Triceratops, an adult Triceratops, to me, in my opinion, I'd say that I disagree with this theory, because you see, there's so many differences between Torosaurus and Triceratops. Well, one is for sure is that the frills are very different. The horns are very different. The body design is very different, because you see, Triceratops is the brawnier, or the more muscular ceratopsian, whereas Torosaurus is not totally as muscular as Triceratops. And also, you actually see that the horns of Triceratops do pack a punch. So they would, because they do have because the adult horns tend to go up and then curve forward a little bit. Now they wouldn't totally sharply turn like this. They would actually be more like that, kind of more like this. And they do have like a little, like a wave-shaped horn, so that it would cause more damage to the predator. Now, I do agree that the horns can be used for defense, but they're more likely going to be used for display, to actually show off to the predators that, like, to show how big they are, and also to see how fearsome they are and how tough they are to actually kill. But considering with Triceratops that it's actually a bit bigger, and also probably the more common dinosaur that we actually see in the late Cretaceous at that time. See, Torosaurus, I believe, probably lived in areas where it's not going to be fossilized very much. So that's why we don't find a lot of Torosaurus specimens, where we see a lot more Triceratops specimens. And I'd say that Triceratops would be more common, whereas Torosaurus would actually be very rare in this occasion. And also, the idea that the frills change throughout time, that is actually a very interesting theory. But I would say the only change when it comes to when the juveniles start becoming adults is when the frills actually start to get thicker, and also that's when the bones in the skull actually start fusing. Now, I think the Torosaurus juveniles would actually have holes in the frills, whereas Triceratops would not, because I've seen adult Triceratops skulls, and they actually are very fused together, and also they do not show anything to show that the bone is disintegrating while it actually is growing. So, because also some of the adult Triceratops specimens that I've seen also show that they don't have any like bony like structures around the skull, around the frill that much. So it would actually pretty much tell me that this isn't actually an adult dinosaur. Whereas the Torosaurus, which I've seen a Torosaurus specimen on display at the Milwaukee Public Museum in Wisconsin, which is where the state I live. I've seen this specimen twice, and I'd say that that this is pretty much an adult dinosaur. But even though it's not really complete, and also it's actually shown that actually has some certain parts filled up, so it's actually like a partial skeleton. So it's not really a full, like a really good complete specimen. But even though it's actually a good specimen to look at. But I would say that Torosaurus is its own species, Triceratops is its own species. And pretty much that, like all ceratopsians do, they eat plants. They pretty much eat like low shrubs and some bushes and things like that. They would probably just pretty much just stick around the lowland areas. But with Torosaurus, considering that probably lived in like higher elevations than Triceratops, or otherwise they probably lived in a different area than Triceratops. So probably we won't see these animals like coexist with each other. They'll probably like avoid each other most of the time. But when they actually probably come into contact with, just probably like at a watering hole, we would probably see that they get along fine, but then like probably like rival males would actually just kind of like get away, this is my territory, you know. But considering that all sorts of predators that actually lived at that time, including Tyrannosaurus Rex, it is actually going to be very vulnerable when it's young, old, or sick. And so those are the animals that are actually going to be picked off by the predators. No, I think with Dromaeosaurus, I think they would actually go after the juveniles, just because you see they're actually smaller, and also they actually are probably a better shot to actually take on than the full adults. Because when you're a healthy animal, you're not gonna have that many things come after you, because predators tend to avoid the healthy adults. But when predators actually do decide to go after the healthy adults, it suffers the biggest consequences. Is pretty much they get injured, and all the ways they get killed. And that's pretty much, I think, what would happen if Tyrannosaurus Rex actually met up with a full adult Torosaurus, is that it would probably be that Tyrannosaurus Rex could get injured, or otherwise be killed. And so for Torosaurus, it actually pretty much it would actually be pretty much probably just stick to its own area, and actually probably live like in like wooded areas, or otherwise probably lived in like higher elevations. So that could actually be the key of the reason why that they're so rare. So they probably actually tend to avoid like open plain areas where Triceratops is probably actually going to live in most of the time. And as for the extinction, pretty much the same way that it suffered the same fate as like other dinosaurs in that time. It actually went extinct based on the evidence showing that a comet or an asteroid hit the Gulf of Mexico 65.5 million years ago, and actually caused the extinction of the dinosaurs, pretty much changing the environments, changing like weather systems, totally catastrophic extinction. And it's been pretty clear that with the animals that actually the percentage of animals that got extinct, which is pretty much like around between 65 to 70% of animal life has been wiped out from that time, which includes the dinosaurs. But not all dinosaurs have gone extinct, and the only dinosaurs that are living today are birds. And considering that birds are the closest living relatives of dinosaurs, when you actually see a bird in the sky, or otherwise you see an ostrich, an emu, or a cassowary, you would actually look at it and say, imagine what its relatives were like during the time that they actually existed during the Mesozoic era, and you would actually just be in awe of like how beautiful that would have been, but also scary. But I mean, that's the way it is that in the fossil record, 99.9% of animals that have lived on Earth are extinct, and we're actually today we're part of the 0.1% that is actually living on Earth right now. So extinction happens every time, and it's going to happen again. And so we don't know what would actually be our extinction, but see what happens. Alright, that's it for now. Now next week would actually be an answering questions episode. So if you actually have a question, email me questions about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric life. Email me at dinocris71@gmail.com, or otherwise you can actually post the questions on my Facebook fan page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. Put it on the comment section. Put your questions on the comment section of the posts that I actually do put on to remind everybody about which episode is coming up. So hopefully I can get some really good questions in the next week. And also you can follow me on Twitter at CSGrawl, which is @ low caps CSGRALL. And so you can actually follow me on Twitter, and I post some pretty cool stuff on Twitter. So hopefully everybody can actually follow me on the Facebook fan page and also follow me on Twitter. And keep in mind, next week's episode is actually an answering questions episode. So I'd like to see some good questions. Remember to keep your questions short and to the point, and I'll answer. If you got 2 questions that you want me to ask, feel free to email them to me, or like post them on the comment section on Facebook. I'm willing to answer 2 questions at once. And so make sure to take care of the people around you, and also for you younger people out there, make sure to listen to your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. Those are the best motivation you can have for a good education. It's very important to have a good education, because basically, if you have a good education, you can have a good job in the future. Alright, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next week.